We've now covered strings and integers, so there are just two basic data types left to learn. Today we will be looking at floats. A float is a number that contains a decimal point. In some programming languages, this data type is called a real number, but in Python it's called a float, which is short for floating point number. Notice that floats are written without quotation marks. Just like integers, floats can be either positive or negative. As the programmer, you are responsible for choosing the correct data type. If your value may contain decimal places now or in the future, you should store it as a float. Floats are commonly used when you are performing calculations that require decimal places, comparing decimal numbers, measuring quantities such as height, weight, or distance, storing prices, percentages, or temperatures. One common example of a float is a price. Prices often include decimal values such as pounds and pence, dollars and cents, or other currencies that use smaller units. Because prices can contain decimal places, they are often stored as floats. If a price has no decimal parts, it could be stored as an integer. However, many programs still use floats for prices because decimal values may be needed later, for example, when adding tax, applying discounts, or calculating change. You now know both numeric data types in Python, integers and floats. Let's see what happens when we use them together. As you see, whenever an integer and a float are used together in a calculation, Python converts the results to a float. Displaying floats is exactly the same as displaying integers. When using the print function, simply separate text and values with commas. You need to remember that floats are numbers that contain a decimal point. Unlike text, floats are written without quotation marks because they represent numerical values that can be used in calculations. We use floats whenever decimal places are needed, making them useful for many real-world examples such as prices, temperatures, weights, and measurements. Floats and integers can also be used together in calculations. However, when an integer and float are combined, the result will always be a float. You've done a fantastic job continuing your Python journey. You're building a strong foundation, and everything we've learned so far will soon start coming together. Remember, consistency is the key to success. Keep practicing, keep experimenting, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. They are one of the best ways to learn. Good luck with your learning, and I'll see you in the next lesson.